Hi folks, Stephen here. I'm on the phone with Jordan Moore, who has done a number of covers of video game music, including Pokemon, as well as a number of classical pieces of music. And he runs a YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about some of his work there and stuff like that. First of all, Jordan, where are you from, and how'd you get into Pokemon?
Hi everyone, and thank you for having me on here, Stephen. I am originally from Columbia, Maryland, which is a suburb of Baltimore, and I still live in the Baltimore area right now. I got into Pokemon when I was very young, about 4, and it's because I had older siblings who are 6 and 10 years older than me, and they were also into Pokemon. And they had all the games. We had our Game Boy Colors, and they had Pokemon cards as well. They were really into card tournaments, actually. And so when I was only 4 or 5, I think I was playing Pokemon Silver on the Game Boy Color. And it's always been my favorite video game franchise. It holds, the most special place in my heart. And I've played a lot of games, not so much recently, but I'm getting back into it now. So that's how I got into it.
Neat stuff, yeah. The older sibling story, that kind of explains how you just got out of, I guess, college or stuff like that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your musical background, your training, your education, instruments you play, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I started getting into music also in elementary school. I started on piano, although I didn't keep up with piano lessons for so long, but first and second grade I kind of took some piano lessons, and then in third grade I started on cello, and I also didn't really keep up with that. But then finally in fourth grade I switched to band and I was playing euphonium, and I've stuck with euphonium as my primary instrument since then, all through school, and I majored in euphonium performance and also music education. Throughout middle school and high school, mostly, I was also really interested in just learning a lot of other instruments, mostly wind instruments, so all the brass and the woodwinds, and over time I picked up a lot of those. By the time I got to college and was majoring in music education, I didn't actually have to take a lot of those methods classes because I already played those other wind instruments too. And I went to college at Eastman, the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. And I just recently graduated with my degree in euphonium performance and music ed. So,
now, the euphonium, that's not a super common instrument for folks to learn. Can you describe it a little bit? Is it like a woodwind type instrument or something like that, or?
No, absolutely. And that's a really common question, especially in the U.S. Sometimes in Asia and Europe, they all know it a little bit better because of brass bands and other wind ensembles, but a lot of people in the US ask that question. It's like a tuba, but it's a little bit smaller. It plays in the same range and actually has interchangeable mouthpieces with the trombone. So it's in that range, but it's, it has 4 valves, kind of like a tuba.
Gotcha there. All right. Well, so as I mentioned earlier, you have a YouTube channel. How did that get started?
I first became interested in starting my own channel in 2011 when I was in middle school, and I came across another person's channel named David Eric Ramos. He plays ocarina and he makes a lot of ocarina videos, but he did kind of multi-track videos where he would record himself playing all the parts and put it together like what I do now. And at that point I played a few instruments, maybe 4 or 5, and I thought, whoa, that's something I could do. I could make my own little ensembles that way. And so that's how I was inspired to start. And I made my first video. It was the Tetris theme with just trumpets and euphoniums.
So that's how you got started. Eventually, I think your first big break was a cover of Gourmet Race from the Kirby series. How did that one come about?
Yeah, with Gourmet Race, I knew the song from Kirby Superstar Ultra on my DS, and Gourmet Race was, I think the reason it was one of my first big videos is because it was 2 years after I started my channel. It was in 2013, and I'd recently finally gotten a nice microphone, so that vastly improved the quality of my audio. And it was essentially a wind ensemble cover. It had ocarina in it as well, which is something I do a lot with my wind ensemble covers because I'm also an avid ocarina player. So it was wind ensemble plus ocarina, and had the percussion in there and everything. But that's a lot of the novelty of some of my videos. I do kind of one-person wind ensemble videos, and just because I play all of those instruments. So I think that's the reason that one kind of took off and really helped my channel.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bit of a break. Although I've noticed that your channel, people talk about this a lot on YouTube, that you'll get a couple videos that do really well, and you get a little bit of momentum for that, but not everyone, crosses over to your other stuff. Were you a little disappointed by that, or how did you kind of react to that?
Yeah, with YouTube, especially back then, I was very just in it for myself, and not in a selfish way, but I liked, picking music that I was passionate about, whether it be video game music or classical music, and writing my arrangements and just making them because I enjoyed doing it. And I think, as a young person in middle school or in high school, it was great that I started looking at it that way, and I've been able to kind of keep that ideology, because it's easy to get into the game of focusing too much on how many views your videos are getting or how many subscribers you have. But I think ultimately you always want to make sure that you're having fun doing this. And so I was maybe a little disappointed that the rest of my videos weren't getting as many views, but I just tried to remember that, I love making music this way, and that's what's important.
Glad to hear that. All right, well, let's talk about some of your Pokemon stuff then. So one of the biggest one, I think it might actually be the most popular video on your channel, is a cover of Lugia's theme from Pokemon 2000. It took a lot of effort, it looks like. What exactly went into that one from a technical perspective?
Yeah, Lugia's song is one of my biggest projects that I've done. Even though I did it 5 years ago, I still haven't really done something quite to that scale. It's a full wind ensemble with ocarina, and I recorded, every single part myself. It was all live. It's about 30 to 35 parts. And the reason I was inspired to do Lugia's song was because in Pokemon the movie 2000, Melody plays this ocarina-like instrument. And the sound is, very similar to what a real ocarina sounds like too. And I really wanted to play that solo in the beginning on my actual ocarina and have this whole wind ensemble accompaniment. And the reason it was wind ensemble is really just because I play those instruments. I just took the orchestral version from the movie and reduced it down to a wind ensemble. And with the editing, back then I was actually still using my video editing software to do the audio editing. So it wasn't super intuitive either. It probably took a lot more time than it should have, but I put it all together in my video editing software, both the audio and the video, all 30 some tracks. So it was quite time consuming. I think I made the whole thing over about a month over the summer.
That sounds about like the right amount of effort. How do you keep everything synchronized like that? Do you use a click track or something like that when you're doing each individual part, or?
Yes, I do use a click track. I use Finale as my music notation software, so usually I'll just add click and Finale and then export the audio and record along to that. And that gives you the perspective on both the tempo and also the pitch to make sure you're playing as in tune as you can.
Understood. All right. Well, let's talk about a couple of your other Pokemon tracks. First of all, one of the other ones that I really like is your cover of Pokemon Johto, the third season dub theme from the anime. Why'd you pick that one out?
I picked Pokemon Johto. That's always been such a catchy theme. And I thought that it would go really well with Ocarina because of just how catchy it is and how kind of cute it is. And Ocarina just really enhances that. So I did it as an Ocarina septet cover. And it was originally actually written for my actual Ocarina septet. I play in a septet with people from around America, and we just meet a couple times a year, and we get together and do that. And it's one of our favorites because it's just so catchy, and we're all bobbing around while we're playing it. And yeah, I was inspired to do that one. I just knew the tune from the anime. I had watched the anime, when I was younger, growing up with my older siblings, of course. So that's why I was inspired to do the Pokemon Johto theme.
And then more recently, you did a cover of a song from Pokemon Gold and Silver, sort of coming full circle there. Which one was that, and sort of how did that one come together?
Yeah, so that recent one, just last month, was Cyanwood City and Equity City. I believe it's the same theme for both cities when it's in Gold and Silver, but then when you get to Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it's just the Cyanwood City theme. And that theme that video was inspired because of a contest, actually. A person named, his YouTube channel name is Soundle VGM Covers, And he's a clarinet player, and he also does some electronic wind instrument covers. But he holds this contest every year, and this was the first time I'd heard of it, where it's a contest of chill music. Chill video game music. And so I, went listening to some Pokemon songs because that's, my most loved video game franchise, and tried to think of which ones were the most chill. And this one really just stood out. It just has that feeling. It just sounds so relaxing. And I decided to cover it with ocarinas, but also with French horn and euphonium, because they're all such mellow sounding instruments, and they blend together and just have that warm kind of relaxing sound. So that's what inspired that cover.
Sounds good. What are a couple other recent ones you want to mention here?
Yeah, another one, it's also a Pokemon cover, but it's from the Mystery Dungeon series, is I Don't Want to Say Goodbye. And I did that one as an Ocarina Septet as well. A collaboration actually with a friend from my Ocarina Septet Okabanda. His name is Stephen Higby, and he's doing some stuff on YouTube too. And we recorded the parts together for that one. So that was a fun one to do. Another big one that's not Pokemon specific was back in April, I did a cover of the Final Fantasy VII main theme. And that one was a big collaboration. I'd never done something on that scale before. It was involving 23 musicians, and it was a wind ensemble arrangement of the original, which was more orchestral. And so everyone kind of sent me their parts, and I put together similar to the way I did with Lugia's song, but I think it turned out better just because it's been a while since then, and I have some better software now, and because all of these people were playing their primary instruments, so they all just sounded fantastic. So that was another big one that I did recently.
Yeah, definitely. Working on stuff time and time again, you will get better at it, and I can understand why the new one, even if you did get a bunch of help from other folks, why you might think that one turns out a little bit better audio-wise. All right, well, do you want to talk about some of your future plans or things that are coming out soon for your channel?
Yeah, so with my channel, I've recently tried to get more serious about posting consistently, because that's a big recommended thing for YouTubers. And for a while, that was 2 videos a month. But now I'm changing it a little bit more to 1 video a month, because I'm actually going to start teaching in public schools this August. So I'm going to try and stick with that whole 1 video a month thing. And I'm going to spend a lot of time in summers doing most of my video making so that I can release videos throughout the year. I've also been really interested, even more so, in VGM recently, both composing and it's arranging video game music. So I'm hoping to have more original compositions coming onto my channel as well. I'd love to do more large wind ensemble covers. That's a big thing. A lot of those ones are the ones that kind of take off on my channel because of the whole novelty of having this whole virtual wind ensemble, especially when it's just me recording. So I want to set aside time to do some of those, even though they're a little more time consuming. And then finally, I really want to start making albums soon. I haven't released a full album or anything like that yet. And I haven't actually said this anywhere else, but I'm fairly certain the first video game music album I'm going to do is of all music from Hoenn, from the 3rd generation of Pokemon. So just barely starting the plans for that now, but I'm really looking forward to working on that.
Looking forward to that, and as the son of a music education teacher, I very much appreciate you going into the public schools and teaching that. What kind of social media presence? Do you have any accounts you wanted to mention here?
Sure. I have a Facebook. That's Facebook at Jordan Moore Multitracks, and Jordan Moore Multitracks is also the tag for my Instagram. I post, a couple times a week on both of those. I've become more active on Twitter recently, and the tag for that is jmore_music. And I'll post more frequent updates just about what I'm working on there. So be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jordan. It's been great having you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Stephen.
All right, folks. Thanks.